Hi guys, Mr. Garcia here. I want to do a quick review with you guys on the stages of the cell cycle. So this is something that you guys have probably seen before, or something very similar, where you guys had to label the different parts of the cell cycle. So I'm gonna try to run through it quickly, not waste too much of you guys' time. So let's just get right to it. Uh, the cell cycle is divided into two parts, right? And it's kind of hard to see here, right? But there's one part where the cell is just living its life, which is going to be here, and another part called mitosis, where the cell is dividing, or you can think of it as having a baby, right? So cells need to reproduce. When humans reproduce or other animals reproduce, we have a baby, we make another person. Cells can just make more cells from a single cell, right? They just split in half. So the first step of the cell cycle, I'm going to write that down right here, is going to be interphase. So interphase is where the cell spends the majority of its time. Uh, During this part of the cell cycle, the cell is basically just living. So it's just living its best life, doing what it wants to do, doing what the cell is supposed to do, right? So we know that the different cells in our body have different functions. Red blood cells carry oxygen, neural cells propagate messages, etc. So here the cell is just alive, right? So basically what me and you are doing right now. From there, you go into mitosis, right, where the cell is going to reproduce. So cells reproduce by just splitting in half, but there's a couple of things that have to happen before the cell can do that. So the first part of mitosis is going to be prophase. So during this part of mitosis, the cell, you can see that the nucleus kind of just disappears. So here, what holds the DNA in place is gone, and the DNA has condensed into chromosomes, and the chromosomes are getting ready to do their thing. So from there, you go to this phase, which is called, sorry about that. So this is going to be metaphase. So metaphase is really easy to remember, and the way that I've always been taught to remember it is that think M for middle. So you can see how the chromosomes are lined up in the middle of the cell, and this makes sense, right? Because the cell is gonna eventually just pinch in half and pull apart. So from metaphase, you jump into anaphase, which is also a face that is pretty easy to remember if you know what to look for. So metaphase, we said the chromosomes are in the middle. Anaphase, A for moving away. So you can think of it that way. Metaphase, they're in the middle. Anaphase, they start to move away. So eventually, you get the chromosomes on each side of the cell, right? And you can see that the nucleus starts to reform here. So the nucleus starts to reform, and you can see where this cleavage furrow forms. So that is where the cell is going to split into two. So this is going to be telophase, which is the last step of mitosis. So telophase, it tears in half, right? And then from there, you end up with two identical cells, and the cycle repeats, right? Just twice over with the two new cells, and it doesn't always repeat instantaneously, right? It just depends. So there are some instances where the cells will continue to divide. There's some instances where you don't want cells to divide and they keep dividing, right? So that is what we know as cancer. And just to show you guys, so let's look up cancer tumor. Do we have any interesting pictures? They're all very scientific, huh? Look up pictures of tumors. So tumors are something like this, right? Where you have cells that don't stop dividing. So if cells don't stop dividing or divide uncontrollably, you end up with something like this, right? Which can lead to specific types of cancer.